Welcome to Hypothetically Speaking, a channel that doesn't provide final answers but offers possibilities. A space where we take the most ordinary things, the ones we think we already understand, and look at them as if for the first time. Today's hypothesis is basically an extension to the previous ones, human harmony hypothesis and human disharmony hypothesis. I call it the human suffering hypothesis. From the sting of a cut to the ache of heartbreak, from the gnaw of hunger to the grief of losing someone we love, suffering is woven into the fabric of human life. No one escapes it, no one is untouched. Yet what exactly is suffering? Where does it truly come from? And why does it feel so real, so heavy, so inescapable? In my main proposal, I have suggested that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but is a standalone reality, untouched, undamaged, whole in itself. The body and the brain are not the source of consciousness, but its instrument, a biological machine equipped with countless sensors, nerves, and circuits, constantly broadcasting signals into consciousness. Seen this way, human suffering can be understood as a manifestation of disharmony. The body-machine falls out of balance, physically, mentally, or emotionally, and this state of disharmony is broadcast into consciousness. Consciousness itself does not fracture or bleed. What it does is receive the dissonance of the machine and render it into lived experience. Take physical pain, you touch a hot stove, the senses scream in alarm, the brain processes the emergency and sends it upward. Consciousness receives the disharmony, a violent clash between the body's integrity and the burning element, and translates it into pain. The pain is not the essence of consciousness, but the echo of disharmony within the body machine. The same is true for mental suffering. When neurotransmitters are imbalanced, when trauma carves deep grooves into memory, when circuits misfire, the brain's signals fall into disorder. Consciousness receives this disharmony not as flames or wounds, but as despair, anxiety, grief. The experience is real, heavy, overwhelming, yet still, the essence of consciousness remains in harmony with itself. The disharmony belongs to the instrument, not the light shining through it. This reframing gives human suffering a new meaning. It is not a punishment, nor a defect in the deepest self. It is the body machine's way of saying, I am out of harmony, I need to be restored. Even when the message is distorted, as in depression, when the inner world feels dimmed, or in schizophrenia, when it feels chaotic and confused, it is still a translation of disharmony into the theater of consciousness. But harmony and disharmony are not only physical or mental. They extend into the existential and the social, which I put it as existential suffering, empathic suffering, and social suffering. Existential suffering is the disharmony between the body's mortality and the consciousness that witnesses it. The body machine reminds us of its limits, that it will age, weaken, die, and consciousness feels the dissonance as grief for impermanence and dread of the unknown. Empathic suffering is disharmony shared between beings. The body machine mirrors the signals of another's pain, broadcasting them into our own awareness. Consciousness feels this resonance not because we are harmed, but because we are tuned to their disharmony. Through this, suffering becomes the bridge that binds us together. And social suffering arises when harmony is broken not within one body, but within the systems we build: poverty, injustice, oppression. These impose constant states of disharmony, warping the broadcasts of the body into a stream of fear, exhaustion, and despair. Consciousness again bears witness, receiving not only personal pain, but the dissonance of the world itself. And what of dementia, coma, or severe brain injury? Here the machine is so damaged that its broadcasts fade or distort into silence. The harmony is not destroyed, it is simply no longer transmitted. Consciousness remains present, intact, but without signals, without song. Like a listener still seated in a silent hall, after the orchestra has stopped. And so we arrive at the heart of the human suffering hypothesis. Suffering is consciousness receiving the disharmony of the body and brain. Consciousness itself remains whole, a steady light, an inner harmony. It never suffers in essence. What we call suffering is the experience of dissonance, the cry of a fragile machine falling out of tune. This does not make suffering unreal. The signals are powerful, the lived weight is undeniable. But it does mean suffering is not the destruction of the self. It is the body's song gone off-key, the mind's chords broken, the harmony disrupted. And perhaps, in seeing it this way, we can also see one another differently. Not as broken beings, but as whole consciousnesses shining through fragile instruments. And maybe that recognition can awaken in us more compassion, more patience, and more mercy for ourselves and for each other. Because to heal suffering is to restore harmony, to bring the machine back into balance, so the light of consciousness may shine clearly again. So human suffering is not meaningless. It is not punishment. It is communication, the sound of disharmony calling for restoration. And when the day comes when the machine falls silent forever, when the signals cease altogether, perhaps consciousness will remain, freed from dissonance at last, resting in harmony beyond suffering. If this idea resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's expand our vision of the human nature together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next idea. Thank you for watching Hypothetically Speaking. If you enjoyed this exploration, remember, we don't deal in answers here, only in possibilities. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep your mind open.